Yay, we're live. Hey, you guys, come on in here. It's Lisa Alexander, founder and executive director of Stand Up Survivor. Come on in here. We have a great topic for you tonight. I have Miss Kimberly Weeks here with me tonight, and I'm super excited. But before I introduce you, Kimberly, I'm going to do a little housekeeping. So just give me a second.
Absolutely.
I'm excited about tonight's topic. We're live. Hey, you guys. So when you come in here, please let us know where you're tuning in from. We want to know where we're connecting with you from. And say, hey. Tonight's topic is so good. And one thing that Kimberly said, I'm just going to say it now because it's so good before we got on, is that she wished she had someone to talk about this topic when she was going through it. So we want to make sure that you share this live, that you let people know that this is a topic that they need to know about. So, hey, Kimberly, how are you?
What's up, Lisa? How you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm super good to see you too. I'm super excited to have you on. I'm super excited about our topic tonight. So Hey, come on in here. Say hey when you pop in. Hey, from Pennsylvania.
Morgantown, yeah.
Let us know where you're Huntington. Hey, Chicago. Yay, they're excited, Kimberly. Awesome. Hey, Tommy, what's up from Texas?
Toledo.
Right. So we are excited. Kimberly Weeks is a certified trauma recovery coach and a narcissistic abuse coach. And so I welcome you. I'm glad that you're here. You're certified in what you do, and we're having a really good conversation tonight. So I'm excited.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good one. Awesome.
So I'm super excited because let me tell you, okay, this is one of the reasons I asked you to come on here, because let me tell you, this word narcissistic abuse is tossed around so much. And I feel like, okay, because when I was in abusive marriage, I didn't know anything about this word, but all of a sudden it's the word to use. Right. And so people are really confused. Am I in an abusive narcissistic relationship or just an abusive relationship? Are they a narcissist? Like, we need to have this conversation, break it down. Right. Yeah, so people can really understand exactly what it is. And again, this is not my forte, so I brought in an expert, you guys. So she can teach y'all, and I'm going to learn with y'all. So y'all ready? Yeah, I see y'all over there. Hey, from Kissimmee. Hey, Paul, we got to get together. You need to let me know where you're at. You're so close to me. All right. Hey, Donna. Hey, Cynthia. Okay, so let's get started. Let's just start with the basics. What is narcissistic abuse?
Okay, in its simplest form, narcissistic abuse is abuse by mind control.
Okay.
It is primarily a psychologically abusive pattern of keeping someone underneath, control, dominance, and manipulation. It's a power, the same thing as domestic violence. And I like to say it that way. Narcissistic abuse is domestic violence.
Okay, very clear.
A type of domestic violence. And I think that because there are people who can have an experience with narcissistic abuse and never be hit and never be sexually violated, that they somehow can put this in a category of, oh, I'm just dealing with a real jerk, or I'm just dealing with somebody who's not really nice, or, the person wasn't feeling me. But narcissistic abuse is domestic violence. It is absolutely, positively a form of violence to a person's mind and their soul.
Wow. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and I call it a gateway in some ways, because if someone is trying to control your mind and dominate you in that way, it will start out with certain characteristics, and then it will lead to other forms of abuse. It will lead to financial abuse. It will lead to physical, sexual, spiritual, emotional, verbal. And so it's a cocktail of behaviors, but it is dominated by mind control.
Okay. So let me ask you, why did you decide to go into this arena of narcissistic abuse?
It's a really good question, because I went through a narcissistically abusive relationship. I was married to someone who narcissistically abused me, and I had no idea what I was dealing with. I did not understand what was happening to me. And that left me like frantically trying to explain or have the language to explain to other people what I was going through in private. And, not being able to form the words, not being able to, because my mind was being psychologically manipulated, because I was being violated on a regular basis in my psyche and in my emotions and verbally, because the person was putting on one face at home and then putting a mask on out and being a completely different person. I just didn't have any wherewithal with what was happening. It just was completely like voodoo. That's the way I look at it. Like, it's mind.
Wow.
So that's one of the reasons why I started studying. First of all, I'm an avid student. But I was like, I got out of the relationship, went through divorce, and I was like, I don't know what the hell just happened to me. I do not understand what just happened to me. It's
okay.
like,
So hold on. First of all, I love Tommy said something about, he was thinking about that the other day, that it's a gateway. Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that it's a gateway to different types of abuse. But I think I want to break this down real quick. So the thing about narcissistic abuse is they don't have to lay a finger on you. It's all mind control. It's psychological manipulation.
That's right.
And I love your description when you talked about, I didn't even know what was happening. So if I walked up to someone to tell them what was happening, I'm so confused in the mind that I couldn't even articulate what was happening. Is that right?
As a matter of fact, the intention of the abuser is to have you so off balance mentally that if you try to explain to someone what's happening to you, that you come off as if you are out of your mind, insane, mentally unstable. And they have already gone through the process of grooming people to see you that way. So it's kind of like someone punching you in private and then pushing you out into public, and you're supposed to act like everything's, and if you're disoriented, then they can go, see, I was really concerned about her. Yeah, I was really, this is what I was trying to tell you. It is extremely manipulative, deceptive, calculated, strategic form of abuse.
All right. Can you repeat that? Do you remember that? Strategic?
It is an extremely manipulative, calculated, strategic, deceptive form of abuse.
Wow. Got it.
It isn't just someone gets angry and they grew up in a household. And I'm not saying just as if it's, it's not physical abuse where someone saw that and then begins to behave out of physical violence because that's what they saw in their home. This person is intentionally grooming, just like children are groomed for child abuse, children are groomed for sexual abuse. They are grooming the people they target. They are, and there's a process. And if you want to go into that, we can go into that now. What is the narcissistic abuse cycle? The cycle has 3 with a 4th caveat. Cycle. The first is called the idealization phase. They idolize you. They put you on a pedestal. They swoop in like the knight in shining armor or the, girl of your dreams. And they do something called love bombing. Love bombing is when they give you so much intentionally studied, crafted attention that you feel like you are the luckiest person on the face of the planet. They literally ask questions to be able to serve back to you exactly what you're asking for or what your hopes and dreams are for a relationship. So they love bomb you. And when they love bomb you, you get high. If you imagine like all the movies and the Disneyfication of the world, we're in a Disney movie. Oh my gosh, this is my knight in shining armor. They swept me off my feet. You think you've met the ideal person, not only because they're so attentive, but because they've asked you little questions here and there, and they're serving you exactly what you said you wanted.
Got it.
So in that love bombing idealization phase, you can typically see someone being taken on expensive trips, being bought expensive items, going on, having like these kind of maxed out ideal, dates. I mean, just all this stuff. And once they have built you up and put you on a pedestal and you've taken it, you've taken the bait, you're hooked. Then they go into a second phase.
Okay.
And that phase is called devaluation.
Okay.
That is where they have put you on the pedestal and they begin slowly tearing down everything they built up in your mind.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. The love bomb phase, is there like a time frame that how long this usually happens?
Or it happens quick. It's quick. The love bombing phase is like you've known the person for a week and they're like, where have you been all my life? You're my perfect person. And they try to immediately get you to commit. It happens very, very quickly because they do not want you to have enough time to see them through seasons and through circumstances. They want to get you, whether it's, engaged, whether it's moving in together. They want that to happen very quickly. Typically, that's a 1 to 3 month period. You're all in.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you be? They've given you, an ideal situation,
Yeah.
right?
It just kind of reminds me of, oh my gosh, you love that too? That's my favorite movie. Oh my goodness, that's my favorite restaurant. All these things. I met my person. That's my match.
Exactly. And we're open. We're thinking, we're coming to the table thinking we're having a relationship. This person's interested in us. They want to know about us. So we start giving them all the tea. We start giving them all of the depths of our heart and what we want and all of our dreams and all of our hopes and all the stuff that's happened to us. And they're studying you. They're casing you. Strategic. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So they get the love bomb phase. Then we're going into the next stage.
Devaluation. The devaluation phase is wicked because they are tearing down everything that they just did. And it comes with withdrawing that attention. It comes with stone when they just won't respond. Like a normal person, hey, I'm on my way home. I need to pick up some groceries. They just won't respond. Hey, we need to pay this bill. They just won't respond. Like you're not alive. It comes with something called, and I know you're familiar with gaslighting. Well, they will do something to you or say something and then deny they did it, they say it, or behave as though it didn't happen. Here's a great example. Let's say you're going out in public and you guys are getting out of the car. The person will say, I wish you were dead. And then you get out of the car and they go, hey, you got to tell them about that thing we did this weekend. Like that never happened.
Right. Right. And you're like, did you just tell me you wish I was dead? They're like, what are you talking
You're
about?
shocked. You're just like,
yeah,
what happened here? And so it's a repetitive environment. Again, it's abuse by mind control.
That's the mind control.
Yeah. Completely off. You don't have any expectation. You don't have any ability to know what's happening. You don't know what you're going to get from day to day. And the person wants you to be unstable, want to create instability in you so that you're vulnerable and that you appear to others like you are the person that's the problem. That's the end game.
Yeah. And so you know what? I'm going to just say something real quick because I think that oftentimes people look at survivors and when we can go hysterical, like you won't believe what happened. This happened. And then we just look absolutely nuts. We look absolutely crazy because if we could even begin to tell you the things that we've experienced, the things that they've said, you wouldn't believe us because sometimes they have the other people looking at you as though you're crazy, as though you're unstable.
They've already set up what's called a smear campaign. A smear campaign is when they've been planting little seeds of doubt in people all through the relationship. And they do it often under the guise of concern. I'm really concerned about this. I was, something said, and I just don't know what to, I really want to help her. And, I'm just so sorry this is happening to her. And they literally just said or did something that was so violent to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're off kilter. That's the way it happens. Wow. So they do guilt, criticism. They will idolize other people. There's something called triangulation. Triangulation is when they put you in a love triangle or they put you in an attention triangle. So they're stonewalling you. They're not responding to anything, but they'll respond to somebody else and then come back and let you know they responded to somebody else. Or that they're going over to help this other person, but you've asked them to do X, Y, or Z at the house. I mean, just triangles. Okay, where you're then pining for their attention, thirsty for it, and they do something called breadcrumbing. Breadcrumbing is when they'll give you just a little morsel of kindness, followed by some kind of, heinous act or horrible thing or devaluing thing or verbal abuse. And so you get this hope that, oh my gosh, that's the person I knew at the beginning. Oh my God.
That's just that little bit. You hold on to that.
We just need to work this out. We just need to go to counseling. I just need to do da 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 da, and then we can get back to normal. So all of that is a part of the devaluation phase. It's an intermittent reinforcement between love bombing and devaluing you to keep you hooked. Now, the crazy thing is this. That process actually forms an addiction in your body to the stress and abuse cycle because your brain is releasing chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, all of those things. And you get used to constantly day by day releasing stress hormone and your body gets used to it. And so that intermittent reinforcement And that back and forth between idealize and devalue actually causes you to have an addiction to this cycle of abuse that you're in with the person. This is why I say this is domestic violence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then
absolutely.
the third part you go into after devaluation is called discard. And I want to make this very clear, because you can be discarded and the person keep coming home every day.
Okay.
Discarded is when they don't care anymore. They don't care. They have no desire to work anything out with you. They don't really even, they're not even getting any high or any kind of, they're not getting off at abusing you anymore. They've moved on to starting to look for someone else to start doing the same cycle.
A new supply.
A new supply. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's literally like you almost feel invisible. Mm-hmm. You feel like, I mean, again, if you're married to this person, you have children with this person, you're living with this person, you don't know what their schedule is. You're completely cut out of their life, and they can still be coming home every day.
Wow. Okay.
That's a kind of discard. But then there is also the full discard. And full discard looks like the person takes off the person that they have pretended to be intermittently, and they show you who they really are. I mean, when I say to you, it's like you are standing in front of a person that you've never met before.
Is it because at that point they don't care that you see the real them, because they're getting ready to move on anyway?
You see the real them, that you've been around long enough that they feel like you're not going to go anywhere, so they don't have to play a game anymore. They can literally switch on and off with the mask in front of people, right in front of you.
Wow.
They're so arrogantly confident that they have you hooked, and they have control of you, that they don't even, have any need to try to fake it at all.
Somebody said, yes, discarded behind closed doors, but outside of that, it doesn't look like that.
But outside of it doesn't look like that. That's right.
It's so interesting that you talked about how sometimes they will be in the relationship and everything will be going fine, and they give everything's like, we don't understand what's going on, but they give us a little bit of hope, that little bit of, that little bit, enough to keep us hanging on. Yeah. And then they're back to discarding us all over again, but just a little bit more. And so we hold on to the hope of, oh, there's the man I married. Oh, there's the woman I married. Maybe it'll get back to that if I just do this. And so it's this bar that we'll never reach. It's this running after the cycle that we'll never be able to accomplish. And it's like, and I know exactly what you mean with that high. It's like, I know what hell looks like. I've lived with it, but I know that it can be nice too. So if I just do this, well, maybe I could it'll be just enough.
Or if I just do that, or the person says they want this, or
I'll just do that.
Give them what they want. And you said something brilliant, because it is goalpost moving. They do not intend for you. They do not intend for you to be able to satisfy them. They are unsatisfiable.
Unsatisfiable. Okay, let me just stop right there. Mm-hmm. They are unsatisfiable. No matter what you do, say, wear, dress, perform, you will not be able to satisfy what they're asking you to do.
Never. And as a matter of fact, they get some kind of sadistic sense of accomplishment by moving the goalpost once you've met the last requirement.
Yep. They keep raising it, watching you do it, because
watching you like a little monkey on a circus, just go round and round and round. They get this sense of they're so valuable and important. It's this inflated entitlement and sense of their own importance. They actually get high from watching you do that dance with them.
So we have a couple of questions that I'm going to try to see one.
Sure. So if they try to discard you and you threaten to leave, and they give you a little, how long does that last? How long does the breadcrumbing last? Mm-hmm. Whatever they're doing, it is because they haven't secured someone else to move on to.
Eesh.
So the question is
painful truth.
Painful truth. And so they will stay with you as long as it is beneficial for them to stay. Mm-hmm. Once they have someone else, you're discarded. And when I say discarded, I mean you are treated like a piece of trash that gets balled up and thrown away.
Wow.
They will act like they don't even know you.
Okay.
Literally be out places and they will act like they've never seen you before.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard. So we had one more question that kind of went up really fast, but why do they stalk after discard?
because they think that they have this sense that you are their property. Mm-hmm. So even though they've discarded you, they still see you as belonging to them. As an, like, almost like when dogs pee on a fire hydrant, like they own you. Okay. They don't want you to be with anyone else. They don't want you to recover. They don't want you to heal. They don't want you to have support. They want you to be broken and completely shambles, so that when they do the next part after discard, which is hoovering is like the Hoover vacuum cleaner. When they come to hoover you back in, you're still vulnerable and susceptible to their love bombing again, and they can pull you right back into the cycle. Narcissists like to keep what's called a narcissistic harem. A harem is old exes and people that they can keep close to them, so that when they run out of supply with somebody else, they can go reach back, hoover you back in, and they can get what they need from that person. And it looks
literally get what they need. And it has nothing about you. It's not because you're more beautiful or more fit or you have more money. It's about what they need. And then when they're done, they'll be right back out the door.
And when they're done, they'll discard you again. And the interesting thing is, here's how you'll know, because they'll come to you after they have done this heinous discard. I mean, just totally treated you like nothing. And they'll go, I really, I wish things could have worked out, but I really want us to be friends. I think we should just, and they'll do it, and they'll use children if you're married, or if you were married and you have children with them, and say it's the best thing for your children. And they just want to make sure that they're the best co-parents. And it didn't work out for the relationship, but it's so important that the two of you get on the same page so that you guys can be the best parents possible. They will use whatever to keep you in that harem, so that when they need supply, you're there.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're unavailable to be in your harem. We're unavailable to help you fill that supply, period. And someone, Tracy said they need narcissistic supply like we need air and water.
It is a drug for them. They are just to that attention, adoration, and sense of value that they get from people. They are just as addicted as they have formed an addiction in us to stress. Two sides.
Someone said, several people had said, so I wanted to mention it, that they call me their property. They said I was their property. You're no one's property. Let me just clarify it. I get upset about that, Kimberly, because it drives me nuts. You're nobody's property. You know what I mean? And if you have to think about that just for 1 second, tell them I told you. You're not. But we did the whole cycle of what the narcissistic abuse. Okay, so let's talk about flying monkeys. Okay, and this flying monkeys is a thing. So let's talk about what are flying monkeys.
Okay, so flying monkeys actually comes from the movie The Wizard of Oz. So when the Wicked Witch of the West was trying to go get Dorothy and the 10 Men and the Lion, she sent out literal flying monkeys to harass and torment them on behalf of her. Okay, so a flying monkey is a person who has found some kind of, what's the right way to say it, Lord? Who sympathizes with the narcissist, believes them, thinks they're the victim, or is a bystander that wants to kind of be neutral. And what they do is they will take information they find out about you back to the narcissist, and they will take messages from the narcissist back to you. And they continue to be able to stalk, keep an eye on, or abuse you by proxy, by representative. That is what a flying monkey is. And
that's good. A third party person. They deal with your own family. Some enablers.
That's right.
Bootlickers.
Bootlickers. Wow. Okay.
Somebody said one of the harems sometimes. Yes, because they use somebody within their own harem to do it. Okay. Yeah. Those are the people. And again, if you have to cut off family because he's using them, he or she is using them as flying monkeys, cut them off for your own sanity and safety and that of yourself and your children. So that's important.
Yeah, flying monkeys are the way that a narcissist, when you have gone no contact and decided to put up your own boundaries out of respect, flying monkeys are the way that they attempt to maintain surveillance and control of you.
Surveillance and control. They're using these people. You think you're confiding in them because they're friends, or no, they're going back and telling that information. So I had two questions real quick. You guys are these questions are going really fast. So how do we know? I know that someone just asked a question I wrote down. How do we know if they're a flying monkey?
You know that they're a flying monkey when you hear them in conversation, subtly defending the narcissist.
Okay.
You know that they're a flying monkey when you find out that they're still having contact with the person, like they're booed up like friends. And you know that they're a flying monkey when they say things like, well, I don't want to get involved in this. I'm friends with both of you. And, I see it on both sides. And that's a flying monkey.
Yeah, it's not going to that's really not going to work. I remember even for myself, I cut off my own family members and I said, listen, I can't have a relationship with you if you still have one for him. And I had no problem with my family members, but it was to protect myself, my sanity, and everything else. And so someone put in caps, cut them off. I agree.
That's right.
If you want to repeat this question, I don't want to say your name, but you asked a question about what do you do when they attempt to continue to control you after you leave? I think I got that right.
So the only way to get out of the web of their control is to go no contact with that person. Okay. No or minimal contact. And I say it that way because if you have children with that person, then there is some contact that has to be maintained.
Of course.
But no contact means, and there's two phases. The first one is outwardly. You go no contact with them outwardly, meaning you don't go places where they are. You don't frequent, gatherings where that they will be. You do not have phone calls with them. You do not exchange texts with them. You block them on all social media. You block them on all of the communication tools that you have. You cut off their access to you. Now, if you are a parent with that person.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Before you go into that, y'all heard what no contact is, right? Now, we're not talking about if you have children. We know that that's not really possible as we're both mothers. We get it. We couldn't.
Right.
But no contact is exactly what she just said. I know you want to see who they're dating. I know you want to see how they're doing. I know it looks like they're happier now. No contact. It's not even good for your mental psyche or your emotions. I love that. She said blocked for life. Yep. He has no access to me. Exactly. Because guess what? That gives you a space, an area to begin to heal. If you leave it open, it's just like leaving an open wound with no protection or covering, and you're allowing whatever's going on to continue to infect that area. No contact.
No contact. And I love that you said that, because basically it's not just their access. It's your access.
Yes.
It's you not checking their social media. It's you not trying to figure out what's going on in there. You cut off their world to you completely.
Yes.
Now that's outwardly. Then you have to go no contact inwardly.
Okay.
And no contact inwardly looks like ruminating on the things that have happened.
Sure, she just said that. She said, and do not talk about him with anyone except your inner circle, because that person may take everything you said back to the person.
That's right. It looks like you rehearsing the things that have happened. And this is a process. This isn't something, again, if you have been addicted to the abuse cycle with that person and the cortisol release cycle, you're not going to just be able to cut off your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I want to say that because people will say things to survivors like, well, you just need to get over it. And you just need to stop thinking about it. And it's not something, it would be like telling someone who's addicted to heroin, you could just stop doing that. You just stop. Just stop.
Just quit. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't work that way. So you need safe places. Mm-hmm. You need professional support to be able to go through the process of, I call it's like exorcism of exorcising that person out of you, because you have been poisoned over time and it's still in your system.
Mm-hmm. And it's so funny you talk about that. I remember I would read the text message. I mean, he would cuss me smack out. I mean, I was everything under the sun, but I would read that even after I left, because it made sense to me. It made sense of the things that he would say to me, because that's who he said that I was. And so that's who I understood myself to be. So that's what you're talking about, like reading back over the things, the emails, the messages, the voicemails, because that's what we're addicted to what that was. But in order to close that door and to free yourself from those things, we have to slowly start to not pay attention to any of that stuff.
And whenever you look at the person's image, whenever you hear their voice, your brain and your body is going to have that same stress response. You have to cut without the release and go through a type of withdrawal from the chemical cocktail that your body has gotten used to in the abuse cycle. And most people don't understand that.
Right.
So they look at the person like, oh, well, that person's just, they just really want to get, and they had enough of it. And they don't understand that the person's body is asking for the cortisol.
Correct. It is. And so slowly but surely, you're slowly detoxing from it. You're
detoxing.
Literally. Every time you go a day without calling them or reading their messages or looking at them on social media, you're slowly allowing yourself to detox from it.
That's right.
Guys, these questions are really hard to keep up with, and I'm really sorry. So somebody asked a question. I'm going to try to rephrase it again. So how do we, and I don't know, either one of us can answer this, but balance not speaking to others about the abuse? How do we balance not speaking to others about the abuse? Because who's a flying monkey? Who's not a flying monkey?
Right.
But I think you said it kind of earlier, how we have to create our own safe spaces. Everyone is not a safe space. Whether that's only your therapist or it's only your grandma, you pick who that isn't. And yeah, you do need a safe space to talk about it, but that's not with everyone.
Yeah, and you need people who have had the experience, who you're not going to have to do a whole bunch of explanation with it because they've been there and they get it. You also need people who are truly for you. I say one of the things that this experience will teach you is who's really for you and who is not.
Absolutely.
Hard truths, because you'll go through waves of people exiting your life when you see how they respond to you speaking up to say, this is what happened to me and I'm healing. And here I'm asking you to respect that this is what I need to do. You'll get to see who really does love you and who doesn't. Or at least where they are in their own process. Because sometimes people are treating you that way because that's going on in their life in some way. And so they can't operate outside of how they're acting towards themselves. They just cannot.
Nope. That's good. Someone said that I called it a mourning process. I told myself that they had died and I mourned and I say the same thing about when I got divorced. To me, it was a death. I mean, I was devastated. Even I was divorced in my abuse, I was devastated. I say it was like a funeral. It was the death of everything I wanted it to be or wished it was going to be. So I had to mourn that process, heal from that and move on. And that's just the same thing. Your healing process is your own. There's no time to, on when that happens.
Yeah. Lamenting, grieving, processing, releasing, all of that is a part of the recovery process. And it's vital. It's vital because what happens is, and we talked about this the other day, what happens is because your body's addicted to the abuse cycle, you get out of that relationship, your body's still asking for the releases. And so what happens often is somebody will get into another relationship that is the same type of abusive, psychologically abusive relationship. And their body is getting that same hit of cortisol and adrenaline. Yeah. And it gets perpetually back in the same cycle with a different face and a different name.
Yeah, that's good. That's how you go from relationship to relationship that is not healthy.
Right. Yeah. And people go, well, I keep attracting narcissists. Well, the truth is that there's narcissists everywhere. When I say that, I mean, there are people with narcissistic tendencies everywhere. The question isn't, why do I keep running into these narcissists? The question is, why do I let them stay?
Got it. Because you can see the signs and be like, no, I'm done. That's not going to work. Yeah.
That's an unlearning process also, because you have to unlearn some things you have learned in your childhood or in relationships that you've had in terms of how you set boundaries, how you see yourself and respect yourself, and what it looks like to ask for what you want, which means you have to be connected to what you want in a relationship.
Yeah. Connected to yourself and your heart and your feelings.
That's right.
And Lydia, the cortisol information is so true. There's a book called The Body Keeps Score.
Body keeps the score. That's right.
Keeps the score. And your body literally remembers the thing. So for example, if you hear a door slam or somebody yells or drops something and you're jumping, it's okay. Your body remembers what would have happened in that situation or what would have happened if that happened next. And so, I mean, I've been out of it 10 years and I still have to catch myself like, I know I'm safe, I'm okay, but my body still remembers. And so I always tell people, Kimberly, have grace with yourself, like have grace with yourself, because your body has been through stuff. Your mind, especially with this narcissistic abuse, listen, the way you describe the way that they mess with your mind, forget it. Forget it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it takes time to unpack that. It takes time to process it out. And like, you know, I'm 3 years into this thing, and I think back to year one, and like when I say you get chronic or complex PTSD, I had PTSD from this relationship. And it was just so difficult to function.
Period.
Narcissistic abuse, even though it is a type of mind abuse, and I want people to hear this, narcissistic abuse will impact your physical body, and you will start having symptoms that show up in your physical body as a result of this abuse over time.
Yeah, very key.
Right after I got out of the divorce, 3 months later, I was in the hospital. I woke up one morning and I couldn't walk. I had gone through periods where I would forget things. I had difficulty comprehending what people were saying.
Wow.
I couldn't remember where I was sometimes. There was just stuff that was like unexplained going on. And I ended up in the hospital, and I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease where I have lesions in my brain and on my spine and on my brainstem. And so even though I didn't get physically punched in my head, I have a type of traumatic brain injury from this relationship.
Wow.
What happens on, you know, in your mind shows up in your body.
Your body. What happens in your mind shows up in your body.
What happens in your emotions show up
in your body. The stress, everything, it shows up in your body.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people, male and female, who've had a physical manifestation of narcissistic abuse.
Wow. Somebody said anxiety attacks, panic attacks, barely eating, barely sleeping. Yes, physical, and didn't lay hands, but the mind. Wow. So let's talk about, let's just talk about something real quick, gray rocking. So I know that, wait, we didn't talk about no contact with children. So which one do you want to do? Let's do.
Okay, let's go and let's close out on no contact with children, because I think that's important. Okay. A lot of people ask that question. So what I call no contact with children is that there are boundaries that you set for the interaction, meaning you don't have to have that person come into your house.
No.
You don't have to go meet them when the kids go with them. You let the kids go outside and, you know, go for their parenting time. If you are at some kind of, you know, place together for school or a sporting event, you sit in a separate space than that person and don't have any interaction with them. I call it, instead of people say co-parenting, I call it parallel parenting.
It's parallel.
Parallel parenting is when you have your own way of parenting in your household on your time. And that is how you conduct your parenting with your children. And you allow the other person to do the same thing on their time. You have no interaction with how they parent or what decisions they make on their time, with the exception of whether there is something that takes place that is violent or abusive to your children. In that instance, that's a time to step in and get law enforcement involved in a situation. But outside of that, whether you don't like that they're not going to take them to this party, or you don't like what shoes they bought them for, or none of that stuff, that's their time. They do what they're going to do on their time. And what that does is it cuts interaction. You don't have to have that any interaction or discussion or any of that stuff with the other parent. And it makes for a peaceful, you know, environment for the kids.
That's true too.
There's no arguing and fighting and fussing and going back and forth.
Yeah. And parallel parenting is really important, because the fact is you really can't control what they do.
Right.
All it's going to do is create an argument or a discussion. And I love that. So I'm going to go over it a little bit just because I like to break stuff down.
Sure.
Okay. Beep, beep. Oh, your dad's here. Love you. See you later. You're out the door. There's no
kisses and hugs out the door. That's
love you. You know, if they need to text, or you want to call your dad, here's the phone. You know, there's boundaries that you set.
You have your private conversation. You don't need to overhear what they're talking about, you know, any of that stuff. And you raise your children to know what boundaries are, so they will know when something doesn't feel comfortable, right, is a violation, and they will bring it to you for you to either give them guidance and advice or get some, you know, one involved to support them.
That's good. And
but
you know, at the same time, You're protecting yourself too, because what are you wearing? Well, they bought you that. You guys ate that. We don't eat chicken. All this stuff. Or, oh my goodness, was his new girlfriend there? None of that's relevant. It messes with your mind, and what you're trying to do is heal and free yourself from anything that has to do with them. You parallel parent, and that's it. Because the truth is, abusers aren't really trying to co-parent with anything. It's more parallel parenting. They're not, because if they can still control, they will. So your parallel parenting.
Want to control you, and they want freedom to do what they want
to do. Exactly. They want to control you.
Yeah.
Set boundaries and stick with them. These questions are going kind of fast, but okay. So let's talk a little bit about gray rocking real quick, because what is gray rocking?
Okay. So there are 3 phases to the abuse and recovery process. There are people who are still in the abuse, SIA. There are people who are leaving abuse, LA. And there are people who are in the aftermath of abuse. That's AA. Okay. Gray rocking is a technique that you use to make yourself as uninteresting as possible. Narcissists are attracted to energy. They're attracted to giftings. They're attracted to your charisma, to your spontaneity, to your life. They want your life force. Okay. So when you gray rock, you become like as dull as a gray rock. Monotone. Boring. No response. No life. One word answers. Thumbs up. Thumbs down.
That'll wreck all their nerves. Great. Perfect.
They hate nothing. You give them nothing.
So when is gray rocking necessary and appropriate? Because we know gray rocking is not going to work in every situation. If you're still living in the home. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about gray rocking.
Still in the abuse. Gray rocking is going to infuriate the person and make them want to control you even more. And they may escalate any type of violence that they will be doing. So it is not an appropriate thing to do when you are in the situation with that person, living in close quarters with them.
All right, so gray rocking is not appropriate when you are in the abusive relationship. It can deem dangerous for you.
So escalate.
Exactly. So you can't gray rock them when you're living in the home with them.
That's right. Right. If you are leaving the abuse, then what I remember doing was not sharing my hopes and dreams and anything that the person could use to assault me, sabotage me, humiliate me, etc. That was the form of gray rocking I did when I was in the space of, I was like, I can't continue in this. You just stop sharing the intimate details of your life. You do what they've been doing the whole time.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is not sharing what's really going on inside of you. Okay. If you are dealing with the aftermath, gray rocking looks like extremely short. If you have to communicate because you're parenting, extremely short responses. And you asking yourself, is it absolutely necessary for me to communicate this? If so, can I send an email? And is that email no more than 2 or 3 sentences? I mean, you're giving them
the least possible amount of information
possible. And outside of that, if you're no contact, there's no need for a gray rock because there's no contact.
Yeah, they don't need to know where you're going, who you're going with, what's the latest, how's your mom. They don't need to know that information because that's just giving them like fuel. That's just giving them more information they can use against you, you know? So keep it simple, boring. No, thank you. Thumbs up sign. Thanks. You know, that's it.
Emojis.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
No.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. Good.
Dr. Sharika, I didn't understand your question. Could you rephrase it a little bit for me and I will ask it? Okay, so let's talk a little bit of nothing, nada. They get nothing, no information about your hopes and dreams. I started school again. They don't need to know any of that because anything that you give them, they're going to use against you.
I'm going on vacation. I started a new job. They don't need to know none of that.
They don't need to know any of that. Yeah, I agree. Make sure you properly address your mental health as well. Okay, so I know that. Let's talk about this though, because people are saying, well, all abusers are narcissists, or is my abuser a narcissist, or all narcissists are abusers. Can we clarify that real quick?
Sure. So narcissistic personality disorder. Let's just look at what is the DSM-5 criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. You have to have 5 or more of these qualities, okay?
Right.
A high sense of entitlement, extremely low or no empathy, a grandiose sense of self-importance. 3, a preoccupation with fantasies of like grandeur and riches and fame and wealth and power. Like the person is like constantly thinking about getting rich quick, and they want this lifestyle that makes them bigger than life. Preoccupation with that, a belief that they are uniquely special, like they can only hang around with certain people of certain status because they're just that important. They're just a unique, special person. They need excessive admiration. They need excessive attention. They're very sensitive to any kind of criticism or feedback that isn't positive. It causes what's called narcissistic injury, which is like their ego is extremely fragile. And if you say anything, even if it's, what do they call it? Constructive, they will take it as if it is the worst slight in the world, and you will get rage. You will get an intense rage from that person. They get jealous of anything that you're doing. They will even, I call it like single white female. They will take on like your identity and your things and your ideas as if they're their own. They also think everybody's jealous of them because they're so important and so special, right? And they're extremely arrogant. They have to have 5 or more of these qualities pervasively. Pervasive meaning this way of being dominates their life. This is how they treat people. And I'm not talking about how they treat people publicly to manage an image. I'm talking about how they treat their kids, how they treat their spouse, how they treat their parents, how they treat their friends that they don't have to put or don't feel like they have to put a mask on for. Who they really are is 5 or more of these characteristics.
And that is an actual diagnosis. Like,
that is an actual diagnosis.
Correct. They will have to go to someone to get diagnosed. And most narcissists are not going to do that.
No.
Right? So let's just make that very clear. It's
not like anxiety or depression where the person's going, I really need some help. But they don't think they need any help. They think that they're fine. They think that everything is fine and they're wonderful and they're incredible. And you're the one with the problem. So they say like less than 1% of the population is diagnosed with this because people don't go and say, hey, psychiatrist, psychologist, I want to get some help with mental health because I'm just too entitled. Who's going to do that?
Yeah,
I'm just too arrogant. I need some help with that. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more narcissists going around out there, and there's a spectrum. There can be a classic narcissist. There can be a vulnerable victim mentality narcissist. There can be a narcissism that shifts into sociopathy, where the person is so exploitative. That's one thing I forgot to say. They're highly exploitative of people. They use people. I say this all the time. Narcissists do not have friends. They have people that they are using.
Okay, got it.
They're getting supply from. So, and it can go into sociopathy and psychopathy. It's a spectrum. It can get deeper and darker and more sadistic depending on the relationship with that person and what they've been allowed to grow into.
Okay, that was really helpful, and I know that those that are listening, some are like, oh, they had 5, they had 7, and I can say that my ex-husband, I wouldn't categorize him as a narcissist. He has narcissistic tendencies, but I wouldn't say that he was extremely abusive, but I wouldn't say that he was a narcissistic abuser. And so I think it's important. I think it's important because people are really throwing that word around now, and I think it's important. We have to make sure that just because a new word comes out that we want to use so often, that we don't just stick it on somebody and give it to them just because. No, he's an abuser and a violent one.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So you can be an abuser, or someone can be an abuser
and not be narcissistic.
But all narcissists are abusers.
Did y'all get that? So someone asked, and how do you know if my husband is trying to alienate me from others? I believe that I got that right. It went by fast, but
If someone is trying to alienate you, they will be talking about or trying to create in your mind suspicion around whether that person is a good person for you. They're constantly saying, well, you should really be careful with that. I heard them say, you'll hear them saying things that cause you to doubt whether or not that person is really friends or a good, person or, cares about you. And they'll be doing the same thing on the reverse end. Mm-hmm. They will be having the same conversation with the other person to cause them to doubt you.
Right.
So they're trying to create division and keep you away from that person and that person away from you. And they're in the middle wielding the whole situation. And they come out looking like the person that's really concerned and helpful to everybody. Mm-hmm. That's how you know they're isolating. They also don't want to support you being with your family. They don't want to support you being close to certain friends. I've even seen it where a spouse will seduce all of the wife's friends to create a rift where that woman doesn't have close girlfriends
anymore. Yep.
That's what
so isolation, the gaslighting. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Very, very true.
Yeah.
So someone asked another. I hope that answers your question. If not, feel free to put it. If you have any more questions, please drop them in the comments. We'll do our best. Someone asked a question. I think Kimberly, we might want to tackle this real quick. Okay, you ready? It's not on our argument. So I guess this is maybe a woman who's older who's experienced abuse, and she asks, "How do I get my kids that are older than 30 to believe that I was actually in an abusive relationship?" And the second part of the question was, or should I just forget about it?
The thing with adult children is that adult child is going to have to see what and who their parent is on their own. You can share your experience, but if you keep trying to convince someone, especially a child of a parent, of certain love, they're going to pull away from you and they're going to say you're trying to parentally alienate them. And so the best thing for a person who is in that situation to do is to do their own healing work so that they show up in the relationship with their children more healthy, more stable, more balanced, and happier. That will demonstrate to your children that something is different about mom now, or something is different about dad now.
Yeah.
And eventually, if they're spending time with that other parent, they're going to start to see certain traits and patterns. But we're not in a position to convince anyone of what we went through privately. It's just not. You can't do that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and I think even with younger kids too, it's like they love their parent. They love their parent. So regardless, they love them. So you're gonna have to let them see for themselves. The best thing, and I love that you said that. The best thing that you can do is shine for yourself, get healthy, heal, become the best version of yourself as that parent.
Yeah.
And so, but I know we're almost at our hour mark. Okay. So how do you deal with a mother who believes DV is okay?
Well,
that was tough.
Any parent that believes that domestic violence is okay, it means that somewhere in their family system, they've seen it and witnessed it, and it has become normalized. Mm-hmm. And so all you can do is articulate what's okay for you, what's acceptable for you, what you will participate with. Mm-hmm. And you allow that other person to have their own view, but you don't have to you don't need a co-signer to what is acceptable in your life. Period.
If they think it's okay, that can be their relationship. But what you won't allow in your, I'm always like this because this is my safety zone. And anybody who comes past here is who I've allowed to come here.
That's right.
And so therefore, if your mom thinks that, that's fine. She's going to have to do that over here. But when it comes to my house, my boundaries, my children, what I allow in their presence in our home, it's going to be healthy. Right. It's definitely not going to be abuse.
Right.
You're a little blurry. I don't know if it's just me. Are you guys?
Oh no, am I blurry?
Come back. Okay, because I wanted to go to our next section real quick. Is a lot of people said that they don't have the support that they need to heal. Mm-hmm. Can somebody tell me if she's looking blurry to y'all or no? Let me know, because she's looking blurry to me. If not, it could just be me.
Oh no, I see.
That's okay.
I see you.
You see me?
Clear. So
okay. So tell me, a lot of people say I don't have the support. I haven't told anyone. What do I do? how will someone build the support that they need to be able to heal from this? Because the thing about when you describe that narcissistic abuse, it's like crazy mind control, crazy. And so you really have to literally pull they say, yeah, it's blurry. I don't know. Okay, hold on. I know, but that's okay. They can still hear you though. Yeah, they're saying you're blurry. Come back, internet. You know she's on fire right now.
Come on, internet. Come on, internet.
They're saying you're blurry. Okay, that's okay. Then we're gonna keep going. And thank you guys for the stars. My team I always forget to tell you guys, if you're liking what we're talking about, please send us some stars. We appreciate the support. So thank you for those that are sending stars. Yeah, they're saying that it's blurry. But anyway, that's okay. That content is so fire. We're gonna keep going. So I don't have the support, but I need to figure this thing out. What do I do?
So if you don't have support, this is where, as a person who has experienced abuse, you get to go create a support network.
That's good.
And as a matter of fact, it's a part of the process of healing, and it's an absolutely necessary part of the process of healing. So if you don't have support, then it looks like going to your church.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like if you have people who are close to you, who believe you and you trust, you starting to let them in a little bit to the experience. It looks like, finding a therapist or a counselor. It looks like a support community. It looks like anything that will allow you to have a place where you can be seen and you can be heard, and you can know that what you have gone through matters. That's what it looks like. Online discussion, someone said.
I love that you said create your own space, and that's one thing. So let me go back a little bit, because you may still be in an abusive relationship, but you can begin to create safety for yourself in that space, whether it's speaking to someone on a hotline, joining a group like Stand Up Survivor, joining Kimberly's group, which we're going to tell you about in a little bit, but finding someone that's your safe place until you can gather the strength, the finances, whatever it is you need to move forward and move on. But guess what? Especially if you're out of it. Thank you guys for the stars. Oh, you're so sweet. Okay, so create your own space. You have the power to create your space that you want, whether, like she said, it's a women's group or a girl, whatever. Create that space. You have the power to create the space that you want. Again, I'm a visual person. This is my little box. Anybody allowed in this little box is who I trust, and I want in this space. Anybody who is going to cause any kind of harm, question my worth, make me question myself, they're not allowed in my space. Okay, all your control was stripped from you before. Guess what you have back again? Slowly but surely, you have your control. So
I call it taking up your agency. You take your authority back.
I love that.
Your agency. Because for so long you've been told that you're nothing and you're not, equipped with anything. You're not capable, all of these different things. And when you start saying, I am going to do what's necessary for me to heal from this, and you start looking for places that are safe places to support yourself, you actually start putting the building of yourself back together, brick by brick. That's right. Yeah.
I love that. So again, like, I know you may physically not be able to leave, but I love what she just said. I forgot her name, but she just said that she journaled. She started join domestic violence online. Just find places for yourself, even if you can't leave your home or are unable to. Find social media groups or somewhere that can keep you connected and educated on the situation that you're in. Yes, Andrea, you are the driver. You are the one that decides what happens next. You have now been able to, given the opportunity, to take control back of your life. Take it back.
I remember when I was at the depths of my situation, and I remember God saying to me, you have choices.
Yes.
You can choose how you respond, and you can also choose what people you allow to walk alongside you in this journey. And it doesn't need to be a whole lot of people. I'm just going to say that very clear. The more people are allowed into this very tender space, the more that you have there's opportunity for re-traumatization, or for someone to say something to you, whether they mean to or not, that's going to keep causing trauma to keep coming back up based on your experience. Like you said, people who believe you, people you trust, people who are safe, people who will listen and hold the space with you. They're not trying to fix your situation. They just want to say, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm for you. Yeah.
Yes. And the people that sit with you. I love that Andrew said, and planning to rebuild your life. Again, the life that I live now was something like a dream. It was like something I wrote about or prayed about or hoped that would happen. You know, Kimberly, we were talking about that too. Like we didn't just wake up one morning and we're free and healed and just walking in all this beautiful glory. It takes time, but you can start to plan it even now, no matter what stage that you're at. I love that. Nat said, I began to educate myself on what narcissistic and domestic violence was. So better. And that's, I have to just put a shameless plug in as Stand Up Survivor, because honestly, that's the whole point. Our goal is to educate and empower you. Because I didn't know. So if you don't know, how can you help yourself or someone else? So if we're here to tell you before the red flags come, before you end up in another narcissistic abusive relationship, take what Kimberly has said. So I need to let you guys know that, first of all, this woman is amazing, right? And so I want to
I'm mad about the blurry screen. I'm mad.
I know it's coming back. It's coming back though. You're in and out of the blurry. But I'm going to put some of her information on the screen. And because you know, I wasn't in a narcissistic abusive relationship, but I'm seeing a lot of you guys have been or are. She is starting, which I'm super excited about, her Freedom Academy, right? Coming up soon. And you can find it here. But I think with the bit.ly Freedom Academy, just know you can also find her on Facebook as well.
Yes.
The Narcissistic Abuse Coach. I mean, that's super easy. Facebook, I'm gonna tag her at the top so you guys can just click on her, like her page. Her content is so good. Like really, really content heavy knowledge that you need that you can apply today. And on Instagram, the Narcissistic Abuse Coach. So Kimberly, does anybody have any additional questions? Y'all know we don't keep our guests over an hour, but look at y'all. We at 106 already. Does anybody have any questions real quick? Kimberly, is there anything that you want to share that we probably haven't been able to touch on? Because I really feel like we just touched the surface. But
we touched on, I mean, honestly, you could talk. I did a series on narcissism. I did a series this summer because it's so
where can they find that series?
It was an internal webinar. I'm actually going to be doing a webinar tomorrow night. I will put it in the comments.
Oh, please.
Tomorrow night on how to go no contact. I'm calling it It's Canceled. But it's basically why you need to go with no contact, how you do it, and what you need to be able to successfully sustain it, because that's the kicker. You have to sustain no contact. But I have a webinar.
That's good. You can start it, but you have to sustain it because they're slick. They know how to try to pull you back in. Okay,
years later.
Wow.
They'll come back years later. So you have to be committed to yourself and your healing with all diligence.
Okay, so time out. Let me say that. Okay, so you have to be committed to your healing. No one else is going to be committed to your healing like you. Just like you begged for them to change for them. You begged them to love you more. You fought. We crawled after them. We wanted to fix ourselves for them. Fix yourself for you, for your children, for your future. Be committed to you. Put all that energy into that. So then after what time tomorrow? We're going to have her put it in the comments.
I'll put it in the comments. It's going to be 8 p.m. tomorrow night, and it's going to be at a private Zoom. It's a free webinar, so I'll put that in the comments. But this is the kind of stuff that I'm going to be doing in my academy, because when I was going through this, I didn't know none of this stuff. So I was just being turned around and around, and my mind was all jacked up. And I think that two things are really valuable when you've been narcissistically abused. A, education, psychoeducation, and B, a community of people who understand what this is and get it and can support you as you heal. Because if you've been in this 15, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is, it's going to take some time.
Yeah. And give yourself that time and time and commitment. Give yourself that time and don't give up too early. Stick with it so that you can heal. Stick with it. Someone asked real quick before we leave, how do you stop living in fear and worrying about flying monkeys and all that kind of stuff? How do you stop living in fear? And I would say it takes time. I mean, it takes quite a bit of time. Sometimes
it takes time, and it also takes you saying, "I'm worth protecting."
That's good. That's good.
Anytime a flying monkey comes your way, you do what's necessary to cut their access, and know that every time you do that, you're depositing something in yourself that says, "I'm worth protecting."
Absolutely. Absolutely. And protect yourself. You don't wait for anybody else to do it for you. You've been vulnerable, you've abused. And my husband tells me like, oh, I have to control everything. The only thing for me is that like I protected myself. So I don't allow anybody into this space that I feel like is going to do any harm or damage. And it's your job to now protect yourself.
That's right.
I remember when I left, I promised myself no one would ever treat me the way that he did.
That's
No
right.
one. And that's
when
your
you go
job to
through,
stop that from happening
when you
again.
go through therapy and coaching, the vision that they give you is like, when you make the decisions to protect yourself, you imagine that the child in you, the younger part of you, the vulnerable part of you, the adult version of you is coming alongside that younger part and protecting it like you would protect a child.
Period. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I love that visual, because literally that's what you have to do. And you protect it while you heal. You wrap yourself in that cocoon. You protect yourself while you heal. Take that time to heal so that you can come out stronger. You don't allow people to penetrate and inflict additional pain.
That's right.
All right. Validation never gets old. I'm just going to say, years later, this still heals my heart. Yay, Tracy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We hate to see you go, but everyone is saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And please, holy moly, I love that one. Holy moly, thanks so much. So please go ahead and follow her. You can find her at the Narcissistic Abuse Coach on Facebook. Don't go anywhere, Kimberly. Everyone else, we're going to see you guys later. See you later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.